Welcome back to our Ramadan series in part 2, where in this video we'll be developing the project and we'll be doing the testing and deployment. So in my next video there will be some debugging and some errors that to resolve, but today is the development stage. So enough talk, let's get right into this video. Right, so this is my project so far. I have created a new folder which is called components, and in this file right here, this is where I will be doing the development stage, where I will be building the main stage. So before we do that, we're going to of course run the server real quick to just double check to see if the app is running. We'll be using command prompt as our main terminal. Do apologize, it's taken a while to load up the server. It's going to refresh again. Maybe it's due to the system. As you can see here, it still says starting the development server. Yep, there we go. Now is the React app is running at the moment. Once it's now running, we can begin with the process. Before we do that, we need to get rid of app.js. I think we don't really need this. So I refresh this, it's going to give me a blank screen. Let's start building the project now. So right now I have created a function which is called const if countdown, iftar countdown, which is called const iftar countdown. I included as a default as well for both of them. Right now I am going to write down a function using the use state effect. So const, we're going to call this function as iftar time and set this one to set up time, and we'll assign it to use state. And in here we'll say 0.00, just 246 zeros. So then when the time goes off, that means that the time is right. The time is correct. It shows that iftar is arriving now. So the next function here we're going to include is const, and in these brackets here we'll say time left. Set time left, and again we'll pass it along to use state as 000000, same thing as this. Then we'll say const message, and then we'll want to set up message, and we'll say use state again, and we'll include an empty string. So let's start building the project now. So right now I have created a function which is called const if countdown, iftar countdown, which is called const iftar countdown. I included as a default as well for both of them. Right now I am going to write down a function using the use state effect. So const, we're going to call this function as iftar time, and set this one to set up time, and we'll assign it to use state. And in here we'll say 0.00, just 246 zeros. So then when the time goes off, that means that the time is right. The time is correct. It shows that iftar is arriving now. So the next function here we're going to include is const, and in these brackets here we'll say time left. Set time left, and again we'll pass it along to use state as 000000, same thing as this. Then we'll say const message, and then we'll want to set up message, and we'll say use state again, and we'll include an empty string. Next, we're going to use the use effect. Use effect. There we go. Here is the new function. And in here, we're going to pass along the lines. But this time, we're going to use the conditional statement of if the time is countdown. So if iftar time is return, so we want to return this. Okay, we need expression. Okay, returns not a expression. So right now I have my variable as constant is iftar countdown, and I included the use date effect where I set to iftar time with all of the functions and declarations. And now I wanted to include is a user effect so that it can be able to automatically set the timer up similarly. So in here we want to include const interval and assign it to set interval, and in here bracket say we've got brackets, another bracket. There we go. So const interval, we're going to set to set interval using these brackets and use another curly braces to void the function. So we're calling out the function in here. And we want to include the const now as the variable and give it to equals to new date. And also we need to include another variable which is const hours and minutes. And assign it to iftar blit. So the next one here I should include is const, another const method. So in here we'll call this as the variable iftar and new date, and we'll use again the curly braces, semicolon, and call this as set date for iftar, set hours, and assign it to new date. Okay, sorry. So const iftar, assign it to new date. Iftar, set hours as any variable I just created, and assign that to self say new date, which we have already. We want to say hours, minutes, and zero. Of course, in here you have the hours section, the minutes, and the seconds. In here, say the hours, minutes, seconds, which I say is zero. I'm going to use seconds for now. We can use zero later. Now, next, we wanted to include the new function, which is const differ equals to set subtract diff, or iftar, which is now. Iftar, you subtract this by now, the original time. Here you go. And next, we want to include a if statement. So if, let's say we call it diff is less than or equal to zero. Let's say if diff is less than or equal to zero, and we want to of course return, I believe return, we want to include the clear interval, and in brackets we're going to say interval inside of the parameter. Then next we wanted to include the set time left as the function as well. Set time left, and in here we're only going to say the original time. So this one here we use effect, where we wanted to, of course, set out the hours, the minutes, ensuring that the hours and the minutes can basically building the countdown. That's the main build. So next we want to set the message. Set message as, let's say, for example, call it Ramadan Mubarak. Ramadan Mubarak. Something with crescent moon. There we go. Hope you enjoy your fast. And okay, we're going to change this message later. So this is fine. And this is the return statement, returning back to the number that has been given from the interval. In next, we're going to include is there is functions. There's three const variables. So hours, const minutes, and const seconds. So I think that's only three we need. Now we want to use calculation by using the math floor. So math.floor in here. So that's a math floor function. So we wanted to calculate. We know for hours is 1 hour is 60 minutes, right? And for minutes is always is 60 minutes. So 1 minute is 60 seconds, and 1 second is 60 millisecond or 60 second. So everything is included to up to 6. So in here, we want to use the diff function, and we want to calculate this as a thousand divided by actually 100 multiplied by 60, because we want to calculate the difference between that. Obviously, 1,000 is, of course, it's the hours that in total. Because of course, if you do 60 times 30, which is 1,800, but I just put 1,000. And again, we want to, and for the minutes, we use the math floor again. Before we do that, we need to include semicolon. Okay, so I can't redeclare. Okay, that makes no sense. Okay, I can't redeclare it, which is very strange. Okay, let's try copy this first and see what the overall result would look like. So in here, let's change to hour, and then minute. Use the same calculation, just math floor diff, and there's like two brackets in there. So diff out of 1,000. I think you use this percentage, just the remaining number. Okay, let me research what it means. Yes, so this one here is the modulus operator. Okay, now use the modulus operator and use 60, multiply that by 60. So that's the only one that is there. Close the brackets again. Okay, let's just try that again. Okay, yeah, that makes sense. So const min is equals to math floor, and diff 1,000 times 60, include the modulus operator for the remainder, multiply that by 60. And we'll do this for the seconds as well, but this time we're going to make a few changes. So math floor is diff 1,000 multiplied by 60, and diff instead of that will be diff times by 1,000 divided um use the modulus operator as 60 as a percentile. There we go. Now this is completed, and we'll move on to the next step. Okay, so here is my app page that I have completed. So go to my iftar countdown, and so far I have included the content within it using the text field. And now I'm going to, of course, run the server to double check to see if the app is running. Okay, so there is some errors that I need to resolve. So React hook use state is calling a function that is not neither React function, React use state use effect. So I think I know where the issue is. So if I go to the use state, find on the search bar, so use state. So let's see how many times it has been used. Okay, 4 times. So use effect. I think it's in line 16. Try that again. So use state and use effect. It still shows an error. So use state is calling a function is neither a React function component nor a custom React hook function. So yes, it's normally start with an uppercase letter. So that's why I use a snake case. So I'm going to use the Pascal case instead. So technically I have to change most of it to a Pascal case, ensuring that it resolves the issue. Okay, that's done. And also the use effect as well. Yep, there we go. Yep, there now the error has now been resolved. So if I refresh, okay, now it shows a different one. Use state is not a function, or its return values are iterable. Okay, I think I know where the issue comes from. I don't think it's the use state and use effect. It must be something else. So if you go to the app.js, contain if the countdown is of course defined here. I think if I click this here, it shows that it redirects to this page. If I refresh, still got the same error. React hook use effect is called in function that is neither a React component. So let's try this again. After with bit of debugging and resolving, I realized I came to a conclusion where the error is now resolved. The reason is that I went on to the exports and noticed that the use state and I went to the function on use state and use effect and noticed that the function has been either not misspelt or hasn't been defined correctly. So I had to like restructure the code for a bit and ensure that the functions are in the right definition and in the right place. So right now, this is the app that I have run. This look good, and I can just set to the time. For example, if our time is 19:08, then it will just it sets a countdown where it's specific to that time. So I might include different effects, but I will see you in probably in part 3 where I'm going to structure the content and add the changes. I'm going to wrap up this video today. This was part 2 Ramadan series of me building the project by using React and MUI material. Hopefully we'll continue this on part 3 video where we are including the effect and the background and ensuring that it looks responsive. So take care. This is your boy Sofsen. I'm out. Peace.